This is Jeopardy! Player one! And now...
Player one, you're in command of the board as we...
Lenin led this majority revolutionary faction to power in the October Revolution.
It's player one.
Yes.
Player one, you pick again, please.
In 1996, to represent unity, Ethiopia put this five-pointed star with mystical overtones on its flag.
It's player one. No, that's not right. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? We're talking about
The pentagram.
select again. Kelly?
One legend says that the design of this country's flag was inspired by the reflection of the moon and a star in a pool of blood after the Battle of Manzikert.
It's player one.
Yeah! You're right.
Please pick again, player
This
one.
phrase appears on the flag of Brazil.
Yes, player one.
Yeah!
You again, player one.
After Lenin's death in 1924, this man began purging rivals and eventually took over the top spot.
Let's hear it, player one. That's it. Player one, back to you for... Answer? The Daily Double. You are in the lead right now. What'll it be? Answer?
Following the establishment of a dictatorship, Lenin changed his political party's name to this.
That puts you even further ahead. Player one, you pick again, please.
Bangladesh produces about 60,000 metric tons of this a year.
Let's hear it, player one.
Wow!
That is correct. Player one, you pick again, please.
The book of John records him as saying, "Except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, I will not believe."
Player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else? Here's the response we were looking for.
Thomas.
We return to you, player one.
Not the first, but this second planet is the hottest because its atmosphere causes a severe greenhouse effect.
Let's hear it, player one.
Yep.
Player one, back to you for our...
On the road to Damascus, this future epistle writer was asked by Jesus, "Why persecutest thou me?"
Yes, player one. Right. Player one.
Jesus was referring to this fisherman when he said, "Upon this rock I will build my church."
It's player one.
Wow! You're right.
Player one.
In Luke, this angel told Zacharias that his wife Elizabeth would bear a son, and thou shalt call him John.
Let's hear it, player one. No. Any other takers? Here's the correct response.
Gabriel.
You again, player one.
Jesus grew up in this town in the southern part of Galilee.
It's player one. Good for you. Player one, choose again.
It's Spanish for sun.
Yes, player one? Hey, you're right. You get to pick again, player one.
Double talk phrase that followed ooh in the title of a 1973 album by The Faces.
It's player one. That is correct. Player one, choose again.
A Katharine Hepburn memoir.
Yes, player one? That is correct. You again, player one.
It's a long, long way to go to this 20th letter of the Arabic alphabet.
Player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's what we wanted.
Fa.
You get to pick again, player one.
This country readopted its old red, white, and blue flag in 1991.
Okay, player one. That's correct. You get to pick again.
Like many countries, Albania has this bird as a symbol, and its flag shows a two-headed one.
Player one? That is correct. You get to pick again, player one.
Different strokes. In 2008, Rebecca Soni won Olympic gold in 200-meter breaststroke. Natalie Coughlin in 100-meter this.
Player one?
Good.
Select again.
Jin Young Lee and Jinmun Park were members of this country's 2008 gold medal-winning baseball team.
It's player one.
Correct.
We return to you, player one.
The 1972 games at this German city were the scene of terrorism and tragedy.
It's player one. That is correct. Player one, choose again.
Galileo was the first person to see the rings around this planet.
Okay, player one. That's it. Please pick again, player
The
one.
gravitational pull of this object is the main force holding the solar system together.
Okay, player one. Yes. Select again. Here's Jimmy from our Clue Crew with the clue.
A platypus was one of the mascots of the 2000 games held in this city.
Yes, player one. Right. Player one. Here's Jimmy.
Japan scored one of the biggest upsets in Olympic history in 2008, beating the U.S. to win the gold medal in this sport.
Let's hear it, player one. Right. Please pick again, player one.
Lenin returned to Russia from Europe following the overthrow of the Tsar in this year.
Player one. Right. Player one, choose.
For his subversive activities, Lenin was banished to this region in 1897.
Okay, player one. That's correct. Player one, choose again.
Like Pluto, Haumea and Makemake are designated as this kind of planet.
Okay, player one. That's it. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue.
The comet named for him was last seen in the skies in 1986 and won't return until 2061.
Yes, player one. That's correct. Okay, we have player 2 in third place, which means that player 2 will go first in the Double Jeopardy round. Okay, let's get back into this. Player 2, you make the next selection as we...
Beavers have 6 of these on their heads in 2 sets of 3. One is transparent and helps in swimming underwater.
Okay, player 1. Nope. Sorry. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's the correct response. Eyelids.
This 5-letter beaver home may have separate entrances and a carpeted floor. Hopefully no elks.
Yes, player 1? Correct. Player 1, you're in command of the board as we continue.
After the 1960 season, the Washington Senators left the capital and headed west to this town.
Okay, player 1? That is correct. Please pick again, player 1.
The coat of arms of this company, founded in 1670, displays 4 furry beavers.
Okay, player 1.
Good. You get to pick again. Natural enemies of the beaver include bobcats, coyotes, and this glutton associated with Michigan.
Yes, player 1. You got it. Player 1. Answer. The first of the daily doubles. You are currently in the lead. You need to select your wager. Answer.
Of 1, 5, or 15, the rough maximum number of minutes a beaver can hold its breath underwater.
That puts you even further ahead. Player 1, back to you.
The foxglove plant is the main source of this medicine, used as a stimulant in damaged heart tissue.
Yes, player 1. Nope.
Oh!
Anyone else? It's player 3. No. Sorry. Anyone else? Player 2. That's correct. Player 2, start us.
In a practice routine for typists, this critter jumps over the lazy dog.
Yes, player 1. Good. Okay, let's get back.
It immediately precedes golf in the NATO phonetic radio alphabet.
Player 1. That is correct. Please pick again, player 1.
The Summer Olympics in Munich in this year were sadly marred by terrorism and tragedy.
Let's hear it, player 1. That's correct. Player 1, you pick again.
Around 1650, George Fox founded this religious group.
Player 1. Yes. Player 1.
J.J. Dickinson and M. Jeff Thompson were each called this Francis Marion nickname of the Confederacy.
Let's hear it, player 1. Correct. Select again. glands on a bee's abdomen convert the sugar in honey to this building material. It's player 1. Good. Please pick a major concern for beekeepers is CCD, this disorder. Player 1. Yes. Please pick again, player 1. It wasn't hard for this Lernean serpent to get ahead. Every time one of its heads was cut off, 2 grew in its place. It's player 1. That's not it. Any other takers? Here's the response we were looking for. The Hydra. Please pick again, player 1. The first of Hercules' 12 labors was to slay the Nemean this. Afterwards, he wore its skin. Okay, player 1. No, that's not right. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Yes, player 2. No. Anyone else? It's player 3. Correct. Player 3, you're in command of the board as we continue, right? Nessus, one of these half-horse creatures, tried to abduct Hercules' wife. Big mistake. Yes, player 1? Right. Player 1, you start. She was a beautiful nymph before she was turned into a sea monster, doomed to live in a cave opposite Charybdis. It's player 1. Sorry. Anyone else? Let's hear it, player 3. That's not it. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? It's player 2. Right. Player 2, you start us off. Every 500 years or so, this bird was reborn from its own ashes. Let's hear it, player 1. Good. Player 1, you start us off. Honey is produced by the evaporation of this drink of the gods that bees collect from flowers and then regurgitate. Let's hear it, player 1. Good. Player 1, choose again. Drones don't sting, and queens only sting other queens. So only worry about these bees, 95% of a hive's population. Okay, player 1. Yes. Player 1, this term for a group of bees refers specifically to the group that flies from the hive to form a new colony. Yes, player 1? No, that's not right. Any other takers? Okay, player 2. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else? Yes, player 3? Hey, you're right. Player 3, you start us off. On Munich's coat of arms, you'll find one of these religious figures who originally settled the city and gave it its name. It's player 1. That's right. Way to go. Okay, let's get back into this. Player 1. In 1634 and 1635, this deadly contagion devastated Munich, killing more than 1/3 of its residents. Player 1. Good. You get to pick again, Player 1. In the 16th century, Munich was a center of the German phase of this movement against Protestantism. It's Player 1. That's correct. You get to pick again, Player 1. Munich's motto used to be Die Weltstadt mit Herz, the world city with this. Let's hear it, Player 1. Good. Player 1. Pick again. That's it. The other daily double. You are in first place. Player 1, please select your wager. Here is your daily double clue. In 1972, the new Washington Senators moved west and became this team. You have maintained your lead. Way to go. You again, Player 1. In 1955, the Philadelphia Athletics moved to this city, where they remained for 13 seasons. Player 1. Hey, you're right. Please pick. The Braves spent 82 seasons in Boston and more than 40 in Atlanta, with a 13-season stop in this city. Yes, Player 1? Yes. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue. In 1958, the Dodgers and this team moved west to California. Let's hear it, Player 1. Hey, you're right. Oh, sorry. Player 3, you'll not be progressing to Final Jeopardy. Consider your wagers carefully as you think on this category. Sports business. Please enter your wager. And the clue reads, in 1993, this man said, "What Phil and Nike have done is turn me into a dream." And your response? And that will cost you. And your response? And this correct response will add how much to your score? Congratulations, player one. You're the winner. So long.
This is Jeopardy!
Player one, where do we start?
Mulvaney, Nancy, 177. Birth of, 28. Education of, 213. As expert in creating these, 326 to 331.
It's player one. That's not it. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's what we wanted.
Indexes.
Please pick again, player one.
Entomological name for a blank page at the start of a book, suitable for inscriptions.
Okay, player one. Yeah! Hey, you're right. Hey, you're on the plus side. Player one.
A colophon is a section at the end of a book that often names this, like 10-Point Baskerville.
Player one. Yes. Player one, choose.
Shakespeare wrote, "What's past is this introductory part of a book."
Okay, player one. Yep.
Yeah!
You get to pick a book's backstrip covers the part that has this anatomical name.
It's player one.
Yeah!
Select again. Debbie Reynolds was a teenager when she tapped up a storm in this 1952 film, perhaps the best movie musical ever made. Let's hear it, player one. You are correct. You get to pick again, player one. Answer, the Daily Double. You are in the lead right now. What are you going to wager? Here is your clue. David Lean's 1946 British film of this Dickens tale is a real pip, and the opening graveyard sequence is a gem. You are still in first place, though. Here's the correct response. Great Expectations. Player one, Kelly?
Shots of Jupiter and its moons figure prominently in this director's 2001 A Space Odyssey, which Maltin called a unique masterpiece.
Okay, player one. That's correct. Select again.
It's the smallest and densest of the outer gas giants and has an appropriate name, as it has a watery interior. Player 1? That's it. Player 1, you pick again, please. London experienced its deadly Great Fire. Yes, Player 1? Right. You get to pick again, Player 1. This publication has been serving theater since 1884. Let's hear it, Player 1. No, that's not right. Any other takers? Okay, Player 2. Yes. Okay, let's get back into this. Player 2, you make the next selection as we... A childhood chum, or a line of coolers from Igloo. It's Player 1. Right. A lot of clues, a lot of categories, Player 1. Beastly boisterous behavior. Player 1? Nope. Any other takers? It's Player 2. Yep. Where do we begin, Player 2? To treat something as less important. It's Player 1. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? The correct response is to downplay. Player 2, back to you. Alan Ball and Bud Schulberg came up with great ones. It's Player 1. That's it. Player 1, where do we start? This Scorsese film is about a boxer whose leading opponent outside the ring was always himself. Yes, Player 1?
Oh,
That's not right. Anyone else? The correct response is Raging Bull. You get to pick again. This World War II classic set in war-torn Morocco is his candidate for the best Hollywood movie of all time. It's Player 1. Yes. Please pick again, Player 1. Bands of debris and ice surround it, as do its satellites, including Titan. Player 1? Correct. Player 1. Its mean distance from the Sun is only about 36 million miles. It's Player 1.
Oh!
Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's the correct response. Mercury. Player 1. Pick greater in mass than all the other planets combined. It's surrounded by dozens of moons. Yes, Player 1? Good. Please pick again, Player 1. It has seasonal weather patterns and iron-rich minerals in the soil, giving it a distinct red color. Yes, Player 1? Right. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. Rodent-borne plague killed off a third of Europe's population. It's Player 1. You got it. Player 1. Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain got married and united their kingdoms. It's player 1. That's correct. Player 1. The Impressionists exhibited their paintings for the first time. It's player 1. Nope. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Okay, player 2. Correct. A lot of clues, a lot of categories. Player 2. Make us. Ben Franklin flew a kite and invented the lightning rod. Player 1. Right you are. Player 1, you start. Seward's ice box. It's player 1. Yep. You get to pick again. The coal state and the birth state of the nation. Player 1. Good. We return to you, player 1. Here's Sarah from our Clue Crew with the clue.
Though it's called the Star-Spangled Banner State, this is its flag.
Yes, player 1? Right. Player 1, the Switzerland of America and the highest state. Okay, player 1? Yep. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue. The birthplace of 8 presidents. It's player 1. That is correct. Player 3 is going first in the Double Jeopardy round, which starts after this. A lot of clues, a lot of categories, player 3. Make us. Retronyms were created by putting this word before coffee and gasoline. Player 1? Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? We're talking about regular. JFK took his oath of office on a Bible that these people, his mother's family, had brought with them from Ireland. Yes, player 1? That's it. Player 1, make a selection, please. Frank Mankiewicz, the coiner of the word retronym, says one of his favorites is two-parent this. Okay, player 1? Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? It's player 3. Nope. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Yes, player 2. Good. Player 2, you start. As opposed to digital, it's the kind of watch with a face and hands. Yes, player 1? Good for you. Where do we begin, player
The
one? Washington Post called Live This a classic retronym. It's player one. That's not it. Anyone else? Player two. Nope. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? It's player three. Right. You've got some money again. Player three, you start. Merriam-Webster's example of a retronym is console this. Player one?
Yeah!
A lot of clues, a lot of categories. Player one, make us. His portrait of Jonathan Buttall is known as the Blue Boy. Player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Here's the correct response. Thomas Gainsborough. Please pick again, player
Kelly?
one.
Beginning around 447 BC, Phidias supervised the making of the sculptures for this ancient structure.
Okay, player one.
Yeah!
Good for you. You again, player one. Beginning around 1790 in New York City, Duncan Phyfe was a leader in the artful manufacturing of this. Let's hear it, player one.
Oh.
Nope. Sorry. Any other takers? Yes, player three?
Yeah!
You are correct. Player three, you're in command of the board as we continue, right? The Gobelin factory of France was famous for these wall hangings and began manufacturing them around 1600. Okay, player one. That's correct. Player one, start. This author of Timon of Athens was part owner of London's Blackfriars Theatre. Player one. You got it. Player one, pick again. The JFK Profile in Courage Award is modeled after a lantern from this frigate built in 1790s Boston. Okay, player one. No, that's not right. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's what we wanted. The Constitution. Select again. Washington, D.C.'s theater awards are named for this First Lady of the American Theater. Let's hear it, player one. Good. Player one, pick again. This actor dedicated his American Beauty Oscar to his friend Jack Lemmon, who had inspired him. It's player one. Right you are. Player one, pick. For the musical Sunset Boulevard, Hugh Jackman won 2 Mo Awards, equivalent to the Tonys, in this his native country. It's player one. Right. Please pick again. People. People who need Peabodys envy her for the Peabody Award she won for her 1994 HBO concert. Let's hear it, player one.
Right. Player 1, choose again. Answer, the first of the daily doubles. And you're in the lead now. Player 1, please the clue. He was the second to die as the result of assassination. You have maintained your lead. Way to go. Please pick again, Player 1. He was number 13. Player 1?
Yeah!
Player 1. As a teenager in the 1880s, he played the helicon in the Marion People's Band in Marion, Ohio. Okay, Player 1. That's correct. Player 1, you pick again, please. He was the only member of Washington's cabinet who went on to become president. It's Player 1. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's the correct response. Thomas Jefferson. We return to you, Player 1. Kelly?
This constellation stretches from the claws to the stinger.
Okay, Player 1. Yes. Please pick a... In the 1680s, Johannes Hevelius added 7 new constellations, including Vulpecula, the little this. Okay, Player 1. That's right. Way to go. You again, Player 1. Ptolemy listed a constellation named for this, Jason's ship. It's been replaced by Carina, Puppis, Pyxis, and Vela. Let's hear it, Player 1. No. Any other takers? Player 3?
Yeah!
Yes. Where do we begin, Player 3? In the late 16th century, this Flemish cartographer projected the constellations onto star globes. Player 1? Player 1, the bright star Betelgeuse marks one of the shoulders of this constellation. It's Player 1. Yes. We return to you, Player 1. The GK in the name of this Father Brown creator stood for Gilbert Keith. Okay, Player 1. Nope. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Let's hear it, Player 3. Yes. Where do we begin, Player 3? He was Britain's Prime Minister from 2007 to 2010. Let's hear it, Player 1. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else? Yes, Player 2. That is correct. All right, let's get back into this. Player 2 has control. On December 2nd, 1859, this militant abolitionist was hanged for treason. It's Player 1. That is correct. Okay, let's get back. Answer. The other daily double. You are in the lead right now. Player 1, give us a wager. answer. With his 12,313th rushing yard, he passed Jim Brown on the all-time NFL rushing list in 1984. All the way down to third. Here's what we were looking for. Walter Payton. And now the $2,000 clue. Harold Brown was this president's Secretary of Defense. Okay, player one. Good for you. I'll see you all for Final Jeopardy in just a moment. We're back. The category for Final Jeopardy today is African cities. So, what's your wager? Now it's time for the Final Jeopardy clue, and here it is. Africa's most populous city not on a navigable body of water. Its settlers didn't need water when they had gold. Did you come up with the correct response? And this correct response will add how much to your score? What did you put as your response? And that will cost you. What did you put as your response? With that correct response, you will gain. Congratulations, player 3. You are our new champion. Thanks for playing. We'll see you next time.